Welcome. Today we're talking about this concept called staying power. And the analogy is if you just have food that burns up quickly, you're only going to have flames. But staying power is like having coals. So coals burn over a long period of time. When you just have foods that burn very quickly, it's like you get an initial sense of contentment and satisfaction. Then a few hours later, there's no heat, there's no warmth, and you want more food. Example. Usually this occurs with when you have a big salad, maybe a glass of lemonade at lunch, and you feel physically full. But there's something that isn't quite, it's missing. And then 1 hour or 2 hours later, you're ready to eat again. And what we want to do is find foods that do the opposite, where you eat, you feel satisfied, and then 3, 4, 5 hours later, you're still content. You're not hungry. So today we're going to be exploring fullness in greater depth. Now, if you like this video, that'd be great. Give it a thumbs up. I'm going to link to another video below that I've done about fullness. This is a really important concept. It builds off of one of the skills, one of the primary eating skills that we're training here at Eating Enlightenment. And that is being able to notice fullness, but also to be able to give your body the fuel that is good for your body. You want your body to have good fuel. We want coals. We don't want fire. We don't want flames. We want coals. We want foods that are going to give us fullness. Now, we're going to look at some foods that increase fullness. There's 4 categories. You've heard of these categories before. I'm going to give some examples, and you can also just think for yourself too. But these foods are all pretty darn healthy here, and I'm going to list them out. Proteins: meats, beans, nuts, yogurt, and fish. Would you agree that these are all pretty good? Meats, beans, nuts, yogurt, and fish. Fats: nuts, olive oil, and avocados. Carbohydrates, carbs. We got pasta, bread, rice, beans, and some fruit. Pasta, bread, rice, beans. And then there's a little caveat. The other thing is called fiber. And what fiber does is really important, because when I said carbohydrates, I'm specifically talking about whole wheat pasta, whole wheat bread, brown rice. Beans are a given. They have a lot of fiber. I want to talk to you about fiber real quick. This is hugely important. Imagine 2 stomachs. Wouldn't it be shocking if a whole handful, like a couple of handfuls of broccoli and drizzled with olive oil, let's say that's 200 calories. A couple handfuls is going to fill up your stomach. A couple handfuls of broccoli drizzled with olive oil, it's about 200 calories. Now I just want you to imagine, make 2 fists with your hands and imagine 2 fistfuls of broccoli, and this broccoli has olive oil on it, and it's been cooked and it's settled in your stomach. Broccoli takes up space. Look at my hands, how much space they're taking up. It takes up space, and space is a hugely important part of fullness. Why is it important? Well, if you imagine the alternative 200 calories of, let's say, half of a Hershey's bar. Half of a Hershey's bar is like 2 of my fingers. So imagine 2 of my fingers, or your fingers, however you want to imagine it, half a Hershey's bar, sitting in your stomach. That's about 200 calories. How are you going to feel 2 or 3 hours later, or 1 or 2 or 3 hours later, in the 2 different circumstances? 2 hours later after eating broccoli, you're going to be hungry. But maybe like 1 hour later, or even a half hour later of eating the chocolate, you're going to be that same level of hunger. So now I want to also talk to you about these 2 exercises that are pretty helpful. So these exercises are experiments, and they are designed to have you test out different foods, because it's really nice on paper to talk about all these foods and give you a list and oh, another list, there's 4 types of foods that are good in fullness. Oh, good, meats and okay, proteins, okay, take notes, blah, blah, yeah. Notes are good, but unless we integrate it with the felt sense of our body, how these foods impact us, how fullness feels to you, it's gonna, this good information over here, it's not gonna get integrated into who you are and how you eat. So, we are gonna be doing a experiment, and you can look at the worksheet down below, but it's called a paired snack experiment. So it's real simple. Based on the training earlier, when you have we have a pretty set in stone meal plan. It's not rigid, but it's we're eating regularly and we're eating more or less the same foods every day. What we do is we take that snack or take one of the meals, and so day 1 for example, you do a fruit smoothie for a snack, and then on day 2 you do a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on whole wheat bread. And we are going to experiment, and you're going to take notes. You just take a little note, and there's another table down below on that worksheet in which you can keep track of when hunger appeared after you ate. This is a hugely important thing. So day 1, you eat the fruit smoothie or Special K with milk or oatmeal or whatever. And then on day 2, you compare it with another thing like toast with peanut butter or a handful of almonds. And the worksheet down below has a ton of options, has a ton of different snack options that your job is just to try these out, to be curious, and to note when do you start feeling hungry again after you eat it. When do you start feeling hungry again? And by writing and measuring and doing these tests, these compare and contrast tests, and recording and keeping track of fullness, you are going to really discover for yourself that not all foods are created equal. Not all calories are created equal. That's like things like this, the way you think about things, this is what I mean by eating enlightenment. People think, 200 calories is 200 calories. But calories is just energy. It doesn't take into account how you feel. So remember, half a bar of Hershey's chocolate is 200 calories. 2 fistfuls of broccoli is also 200 calories. And you are going to feel a world of difference when you embrace the fact that all foods are not created equal. All calories are not created equal. The broccoli, don't get me wrong, you're not going to get super full on broccoli. Maybe you do. I'm not saying that broccoli is the most filling meal, but in comparison to the Hershey's chocolate, the broccoli, you're gonna be content for at least maybe an hour. Your blood sugar levels are gonna be even. You're gonna feel a hell of a lot better end of the day. So that's not all foods are created equal. We need to explore for yourself and make sure that your body registers that not all foods are created equal. Now, one other quick thing is making sure that you can understand when you are getting full. So I just wanted to rehash this real quick. There's a couple different signs. Sometimes you don't know what fullness feels like. There's sometimes people feel energized. Sometimes people feel content in their mood. They feel pleasant, relaxed. These are all indicators you're getting full. So really pay attention to these indicators when you eat the paired snack, when you experiment with the different types of foods, as seen on the worksheet down below. Sometimes this is an interesting one where you think less about food. When you're hungry, you're always thinking about food. When you're full, you just don't really think about it. And then there's also the stomach. So there's kind of like a fullness, maybe a sort of heaviness. If you've eaten too much, it's going to be bloating. So those are indicators you're full. And the main thing is to pay attention to how these foods make you feel. And one morning, you have to be on the lookout for this. This is something that unless you pay attention, you might miss it. It's not like a big stressor. A big stressor is sometimes gonna smack you in the face. You know, you're trying to stay in touch with your emotions and all this stuff, and then bam, you're out of control. And you're forced to take responsibility for your emotions because your emotions are, they're in your face. You can't run away from them. This you can run away from. It's easy to miss. It's easy to miss. This is subtle. This is, we're later on in the training. You know, we've built some skills. This is refining. So check out the worksheets below. Let's keep going with fullness. And remember the growth mindset. Remember that growth mindset. Curiosity over judgment. What am I learning here? What could I do differently next time? What messages did I miss from my body? Were there any cues? Did I fall into deprivation? Was I missing meals? You know, it's kind of funny. I'm just having a tangent right now. But about this whole growth mindset thing, we only had 3 questions when we started. It was like, what did I learn? What could I do differently? And what happened? And now we're adding in a lot more language and concepts on how to approach this whole thing. You know, from deprivation to emotional triggers to distractions and habits and physical deprivation and a whole bunch of different concepts, and maybe body shaming or getting lost in like a catastrophic scenario and not being able to think of alternative ways or not challenging your assumptions. We're giving you a lot of tools on how to do this, and hopefully this type of training is stretching your perception. Hopefully it's stretching your way of relating to food and challenging you to relate to food differently. It is hard to train yourself to see food in this way. It is tough. It's tough. But you know, with patience, with compassion, with confidence and learning skills, because that's what we're doing. We're just learning skills. Like, anyone can learn a foreign language. Anyone can learn a foreign language if they practice hard enough, if they study and so forth. Anyone can do it. So we are just learning a new language, a language of our body, and we're learning how to speak the language of food and have a pleasant conversation with food. And so anyways, these are some tangents. We're going to call it for the video. Let me know what your favorite foods are that really give you a lot of fullness. All right, peace.